a lot of me listening to music is, yes, it's fun, but also when I listen to a song that I really like, I'm like, I can incorporate that into how I play. I'll hear a bass line and I'm like, I'm gonna use that on. Heard a song. I'll hear a bass line that's cool, and I'll be like, I'm gonna use that on Sunday. I'm gonna use that as a fill somewhere on Sunday. And it's like so fun to do that.
Dude, that's very. It's. I would say it's along the same lines as reading the Bible and reading other books.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I think people blow it out of proportion with music. It's like, just listen to what you like. And if your heart is saying, oh, like, this is bad for me, then no. And other than that, I think for the most part, it's all good.
All right. Hello and welcome back to the High View Podcast, the podcast dedicated to the creative, the outside thinker, and the believer. I'm Jonathan, your host. If this is your first time listening, or if you've listened to us for a while, I just want to invite you to follow us on social media or subscribe to us on YouTube. We're also on Rumble, a new social media platform that we are on now. But today I have a new friend with me. His name is Jay, and we actually just met not too long ago, probably like last month, but this is our first time hanging out initially. So this is Jay.
Hello. Thank you for having me on, Jonathan.
Yes. Thank you, bro. Thank you for making it out and being willing to just come out here and have fluid conversation.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a good time. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Me and Jay, we actually go to the same church. I see him on stage and I'm helping out with production as well. But he just came up to me one day. He was like, bro, like, when am I going to be on the podcast? And I was like, bro, let's set a date. Let's do it. Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I'm never afraid to just invite myself to doing
Dude,
things.
I love it, bro.
So when we were talking and you're like, yeah, I have a podcast. Like, I didn't think anything about it at first. I was like, oh, it's cool. But then later I was like, I'm going to get on that podcast. That'd be fun.
That's dope, bro. I would have never like went up to you and been like, you want to be on my podcast?
Yeah, well, we didn't really know each other like
Right.
that, so I figured you wouldn't. But I was in my head, I was like, I mean, he's either has a schedule and he's like has certain people in mind, he's gonna say no, and that's fine, or he's gonna be like, yeah, why not? And I was like, all right, cool. I've never been on a podcast, I want to do it, and I'm a big yapper, so here we are.
I love the spontaneous conversation. I love meeting people on the fly, stuff like that. Before this, we were talking like, do we have anything specific we want to talk about? We're like, whatever, we'll free flow. We're both on the same page. We'll free flow. That's cool. So I love that, bro. And I love that you're so fluid. Like I said before we started, we're very flexible with whatever's going on. Very open to letting the spirit flow and just letting any conversation happen. So it's dope,
for sure. So what do you do in production at the house? I forgot to ask you.
Anything, bro.
Anything. Okay.
Yeah, anything they need help with. Like,
okay.
I've done it for a while. Like I've started out helping with cameras. Well, actually, no, I started out taking pictures first when I was in house college. Started out taking pictures and then moved to like the video side of it. And then now I do more of like the lights and stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So do they just rotate you around wherever they need you? You're kind of a flex?
I would say, I'm kind of like a flex player.
Yeah.
But my main thing right now is probably lights.
Okay.
Just because not too many people know how to do it.
Yeah. Did you get trained there?
Yeah.
Was it through their college or?
No. Just on Sundays.
Okay, you just had some training. Yeah, that's really cool that they were down to
it's
teach
fun,
you.
Dude. I know you probably Jay. He does. He's a musician and he plays bass, right?
Bass and piano, but at the house I play bass.
Okay, so he plays bass at our church and many other churches he's been at. He's played for a couple of years. We were kind of just getting to know each other beforehand, and he told me how long he's been playing. But he'll be playing on Sundays. During worship and stuff like that. But I'm sure being on that side, you get to be able to see how you get to usher people in and set the atmosphere for how people, experience God.
No, for sure. Like playing the music is only half of it. You gotta, I don't know. I always thought like it's better to like play good and just be in the moment and have a good energy so people can be like, oh wow, he's here. This is this is what being like a Christian is about, just worshiping in the moment. than playing great and you just look miserable on stage the whole time. It's like, I don't know.
Right, yeah.
Like, obviously you want both, but I don't think, like, a lot of it is just like you want to look like the part, and it should be real. It shouldn't be like, oh, I want to
Right.
look the part. It's like, you should, I don't have to force it. It's just
Right.
like, I want to be there.
Yeah.
So it's not like I have to, like, oh, put a smile on, remember to smile. It's like, no, I'm happy to be there. That's like what I like to do. So
it's really dope that you say that, bro, because I know, just kind of observe. I observe people on stage. Obviously.
Yeah.
It's stuff that I have to look at it. I have to look at the production side.
right. That's part of it. Yeah.
But seeing you up there, like, you are really like you're in it. Like, I see your personality coming out while you're on stage, and it's true. Like, it's so true. Like, you're very true on stage, and I can definitely see that. So I think that's really dope. But being on production, it's the same thing. I'm able to see and be a part of setting the atmosphere for how people experience God, how people enter into worship. Like, the next light cue will determine how hard this next part hits.
It's all one thing.
So,
it's all one thing that you're kind of just putting together.
Yeah.
So
it's a really cool experience, bro. It's definitely a side of ministry, and just being a Christian and being able to see how God works and stuff like that. It's been another version of seeing like how God works, because who would have thought lights, or a speaker in music, have so much to do with people connecting with God.
Right. I think it's just a testament to how like you adapt to where we are in the world. And right now, like, that's what, that's going to get people excited, is like, like a cool production that people want to come see. So it's all, kind of connected to the part of it, and just getting people interested. Like, church shouldn't be boring. Like, no, that should not, in my opinion, like church should be the opposite of boring. It should be fun. You should be excited to go.
I've had a heart check recently. I don't know if you've noticed, bro, like, we've kind of actually took a little bit of a step back from just going to church in general.
Right. Yeah.
But I just had to have a personal heart check. And I think this is something me and Lex talked about on the previous episode. Like, I had to have a heart check because I was getting so attached to the entertainment side.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
And it was, there's no one to blame. Like, I'm not blaming anybody. Like, it's definitely something, like, human is just attracted to entertainment.
Yeah.
That's America, bro. Like, literally just America. Like, if we're not entertained, we're not watching. We have commercials always in our face, instant food, fast food. If we're not entertained or stimulated,
no, for sure. Anybody under the age of like 28, their dopamine is like cooked. Like TikTok, like,
bro, for real.
Yeah,
that's facts.
It is crazy. You have to, like, I don't know, like, you have to watch yourself. Like, you can just scroll all day. So I see what you're saying. But yeah, no, it is easy to kind of get sucked into this or that. Like you were saying, the entertainment side. And I think that's why the worship pastor at the house really emphasizes, and a lot of churches do this, they emphasize, if you're a church musician, go watch the message. You aren't exempt from just watching the message. You can't just go sit in the green room all day, watch the message. That's like, you don't just because you're on stage playing doesn't mean you don't need to get fed, and go and go watch it. I think it's super important. I was back in my younger days of playing, I would sometimes skip out on that, and you felt it. Like, it's like you would go to church and you'd play and it'd be fun, but it's like, dang, I didn't learn anything. Like,
kind of loses like the oomph behind it. The meaning.
Exactly.
Going back to how you're saying, like, churches are, church should be entertaining.
Yeah, it should be fun.
We have to adapt to how people, follow along or listen, or, just catch on to things. It's very true. And it goes with anything. It's not just churches. Like,
for sure.
There's a story that actually another pastor told me about, a story about H&M, the store, H&M. So, like, when COVID hit, a lot of retail stores started going online, and making the big investment to go online. Like, they're knowing a lot of people aren't going to be out now. But H&M, they're like, no, we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to invest in a lot of brick and mortar stores. So they did that, and they almost went bankrupt.
Wow.
For it.
Okay.
So that's just a true testimony. Like, if you don't adapt to how the world changes, the world will leave you behind for sure.
Yeah, and like for H&M, like, it's a marketing thing too. Like, it's like you need to be. I mean, you can see it, like, shops and stores that like started emphasizing their like branding and social media, like they're gonna grow more than the stores that don't. I think TikTok kind of runs advertisement right now, and like, think about it, when you see a commercial when commercials on a sports channel or TV pops up, what do? Do you watch the commercial? No, you're gonna get on your phone, you're gonna get on Instagram. So I think that's just like the way to go now. That's how you do it.
Yeah. So I know we were talking earlier, like I said, everybody, this is our first time hanging out.
Yes.
So you guys are kind of getting the first level emphasis of what it looks like to get to know each other. So
For sure. Yeah.
But we were talking earlier, and you told me you kind of grew up in church.
Yes.
Been around Arlington or DFW all your life.
I'm very local. Yes.
So have you had any, or what is kind of like your monumental moments? Like what has kind of made you who you are today, do you feel like?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. I think I knew growing up I wanted to do something in music. I thought I wanted to do full time. And we were talking about how earlier, how having your passion be something you do full time has a lot of benefits to it because it doesn't really feel like work. But the drawback is that you can't relax with it as much. You have to be like on top of it. So I think just like a lot of it was just defining, a lot of these moments were defining like what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I think getting involved playing at the church I grew up with, playing bass, was like a big one. My first instrument wasn't bass guitar. It was, like I was telling you, the orchestra, upright bass. And so whenever I graduated high school, I kind of decided, I don't want this to be my main instrument. I don't want to play it as much. I want to play bass guitar. There's definitely a lot more opportunities with bass guitar than like obviously an orchestra.
Right?
Yeah. And so I think that was a really big one. And then just like coming upon now where I'm at now, like coming upon the house and meeting the music director there, Ruben. We just kind of randomly met through a mutual, and now playing there. And and getting the job I have now was also kind of just, I don't know, like I just stumble upon these blessings. So I think these things kind of just put me on the path that I'm on now.
Yeah, that's dope, bro. It really sounds like, you grew up Christian, and you said yourself, like your parents really set you up for success.
Absolutely.
I feel like a lot of people I talk with, and I was even talking with somebody last night, they're like, I don't really have like this crazy story, because we were just like swapping testimonies.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't really have like this crazy story, kind of like, talking down. It seemed like in a kind of a talking down tone. I was like, bro, like you don't understand how much of a blessing that is.
Yeah, no,
like,
for sure.
You don't have to walk through like the crazy struggles that a lot of people have to go through to get to a place where like, I'm here now because of this. Yeah. So it's a blessing. And now you have an ability to reach certain types of people that have walked through the same thing.
Yeah, I think for me, like even the times that I felt at my lowest, I was like, God's still there. So that's it's dope, like dude. That's something that is really the biggest blessing of all, to just have that hope throughout your whole life, that's dope. I think the times where I was going through it the worst was probably, there were certain semesters of college where I'd be really struggling academically, and I felt I put a lot of academic pressure on myself growing up. I think that's really common for people now in college and maybe even in high school. But just dealing with that was like very difficult for me, because I would be in moments where I didn't even know if the degree I was getting was the degree I even wanted. So I would have stress of, I'm failing these classes. Even if I pass, I don't even know if I'm going to be happy,
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably some of the lower moments that I got in my life. But even then, I was like, it's going to work out. Even if in the moment, the more immature, younger version of myself didn't really all the way think that. I think in the moment, like in the back of my head, it was just so deeply implanted from childhood that like it's gonna be okay, and it's so gonna work out,
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Now growing up, and we were talking about my testimony a little bit, the things that I've gone through as as a youth. I grew up Christian, but I didn't see it in a way that I do now. But now going through all that stuff makes me realize, like, I want to do what your parents did. I want to implement from a very young age. Great. Yeah. There's so many benefits, bro. Like, you see the world different. I know you do.
Yeah. No, for sure. And there are people that I know that I can tell, like, maybe they grew up in church, maybe they didn't. I can tell they're Christian, but they don't go to church a whole lot. But I can kind of tell, or at least have an inkling that it's like when they have a family, they're going to all of a sudden be showing up to church, because that's when it's like, okay, like, that's when it like, I think a lot of people have the perception, this is where it matters. Now I have a family, I need to go to church. Obviously, you should just go.
For sure. Yeah, right.
But like I think raising your family in church is like, that's the best thing you could do for your kids right there. I'm a living testimony of it,
Yeah. You have such a light charisma to you, bro.
Oh, thank you.
You really do. Like, there's some people, you can discern off people. I can see right through you, and there's nothing to hide, and it's pretty dope, bro. I really enjoy coming across people like you. I think y'all are angels sent from heaven, bro.
Yeah, thank you. That's really nice.
Really dope, bro.
There's this book I've been reading where I think it's been helping. It's kind of a shift in mindset. My brother put me on, and it talks about how you should live this sounds really cliche, but you should live in the moment, right?
Mm.
But a lot of people say that and they'll live in the moment in their, like they'll live in their heads, right? And so the book is called Be Here Now. And it talks about how you focus on your breathing, right? During, not necessarily during conversation, but during like when you're alone, right? And it keeps you out of your head and more just like in the moment. So whenever you do talk to somebody, you can pop right there. You don't have to get out of your head real quick. You were never in your head. I think that's how we were kind of meant to live, because there's a Bible verse that says something along the lines of pray ceaselessly. How do you pray? How do you pray ceaselessly? Like never stopping, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it. Like, have a prayer. It's almost like a mantra in your breath, you know, in and out, and you pray something, you know, just over and over again. And that, I think that's kind of how you, like, develop a great relationship with God. But B, just stay lighthearted, stay at peace, you know. And I think that's something I've been trying to do. That's been really beneficial for me lately.
That's a really cool perspective.
Yeah.
Never really thought about it like that.
Yeah.
So just focusing on your breathing instead of actually like being in the moment in your head.
Yeah.
Because what most people are, you know, most of you come in my head. That's something like, I'm more of an introvert. So like, I'm very relaxed in my head. So like being outside of my head, being in the moment, I guess you know, taking it out of that context, but being in the moment, like actually in the moment right now, is very foreign to me, I guess you could say. Not as much now, but it was foreign to me. Yeah. Doing this is, it's a lot more like relaxing. It's a lot more comfortable for me.
I feel you. But yeah, the book talks about being a witness, and what it means by that is you aren't your thoughts and your emotions. You're watching your thoughts and emotions, so that even if it gets bad and you have bad thoughts and bad feelings, you're unshaken. You're still at peace with yourself. Yeah, you're observing it. Yeah. And it's really scary. And there's a few Bible verses in that book. And one of them that it talks about is those who want to enter the kingdom of God must be like a child, right? Yeah. And that is how it's going to feel for a while, is because you want to think in your head because, I need to figure things out to work it out for my future. But no, just be and let God take care of it. Like childlike faith, you know?
Right.
There's something, I think, there's some growth that comes with that. I think it's really good. It's been really beneficial to me lately.
Yeah, that's really
it's
cool,
still something new in my life. So, but I like it a lot.
I really like the observing factor of life.
Yeah.
I think it's, I don't know. I mean, I have come across people that definitely put that into play. But for me personally, me and my wife, obviously, like we're two different people as wife and husband usually are polar opposites. But I'm more observant. So like it's more of like that. Like when you said that, that kind of reminded me of sometimes I can do that. Like when I do feel something, I'm like, okay, well, what's actually going on here? You know, like what is this feeling, or what's actually going on? Or even in movies, like I know people stray away from like scary movies or creepy stuff, or even like murder podcasts or crime podcasts, crazy stuff like that. Like I'm not interested in listening to that. I'm interested in knowing the mind behind it.
Wow.
Like I'm like, where is this person at? Like, where is this person's head right now? Like I'm observing their emotions, how they think, how they see life. So I really enjoy observing just mentalities. You know? I think it's really dope.
Yeah, I get that vibe from you. My brother is actually really similar. I think I'm kind of the opposite. I feel like if I'm not careful, I'll just be in my own little world in my head all day. And it's the opposite, because instead of observing, I'm just like in my head all day, you know? Yeah. And so I've been, that's kind of part of the breathing and how it's helping me. Like, I feel like that's not a good way to live as much as I do, you know? So I'm trying to just be more, I guess more, like you said, more observant and more just where in the present, you know, stuff like that.
Just like everything else, life is about balance.
Exactly, you know? Exactly.
Like to have a healthy balance with almost everything is, you want to have a good relationship with everything.
No,
you know?
for sure,
You don't want to do too much of anything. And my wife is pretty similar to that when you say that. Like she's kind of always in her head, it feels like. Yeah. So you're more of an extrovert, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I lean extroverted. I'm kind of in the middle. I think they call it ambivert. Ambivert.
It might be ambivert.
Yeah, something like that. Because there are definitely times where I'm social and I'm out and I'm like, I'm tired. I want to go home and be by myself. But there's also times where if I'm just by myself for a long time, I'm like, dang, this is boring. I need to go talk to people.
I totally feel that.
I think the way they define introvert and extrovert is like what energizes you and what drains your energy. And I think the balance for me is just a ping pong back and forth, introvert or being alone until I get tired, extrovert into being around people until I get tired. And that's kind of just what works for me. But yeah, I do lean a little bit towards the extroverted side. I just I don't know, just like I said, I'll just invite myself places that
Dude,
I
that's
think
dope,
and
dude.
just not like trying to be in a rude way. Like I'll even a lot of times have to press it. So I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to like step on anybody's toes, but let me do this, like
No, that's dope,
yeah.
dude. I mean, closed mouths don't get fed.
No, yeah.
I've had to learn a lot to open my mouth a lot more, like be more vocal about things. And my wife being an extrovert, she's taught me so much about like speaking out loud. Like
Yeah.
I've had to learn that because I will just sit there and be quiet.
Yeah,
I won't
yeah.
say anything, bro. So yeah, I definitely understand that. I get that.
I think too, like you miss out on like opportunities when you don't go and talk to people. Like
Absolutely.
I've gotten gigs and gotten to play shows because I'll go up to someone and be like, let me play bass for you. Like let me play with you. And normally most people are nice, like just in general in the world. Even if they say no, they'll be like, oh, we got somebody or something like that. But you end up like I play at a church during the week sometimes, and the only way I got there was through a friend I know that kind of like is just in the worship industry in the area kind of, and I text her. I was like, find me a place to play if they need a bass player, and like it's me just going out of my way, and you can get opportunities just by talking to people and asking for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Sometimes all you gotta do is ask,
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah.
So would you say you're like, obviously you're a musician. You've been a musician a lot of your life.
Most of
right?
my life, yeah. That's
So
the majority.
would you correlate yourself to like your form of worship directly is like your music? Like, do you connect so deeply with your music that you feel like you're worshiping, or is it more of just like you just enjoy it that much?
I'm glad you asked. That's a great question. So I think it's definitely both. I think when I play on Sundays, it's weird. Like you have to kind of have a balance of I want to worship when I'm there. I also want to play good. And
Right.
so sometimes I feel like my brain pops back and forth between when I'm playing bass on stage. Sometimes I feel like I am the bass. Like I feel so locked in. I'm not thinking. Sometimes I'm not like thinking about the lyrics or worship. Sometimes I'm just so locked in, right? But then there are other times where I kind of just pop back out of my head and I'm like, I'll listen to the lyrics or I'll just be in that moment and be like, wow, like God is so good. Like
Wow.
it's just a popping back and forth. I that's kind of how I see it.
That's a gift, bro.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think even when I'm just so locked in on playing, like even that is a form of worship because anytime you're on a worship team, they're going to pray before you go on and they're going to say their prayer. And I always say to myself before I go on stage, because I think of me playing on stage is like my art, and so I ask, like, I'll say something along the lines of like, God, let this art or let this performance be pleasing to you. Like I want to do good for you, So even when I'm locked in on my bass and just playing, like even that I think is kind of a form of worship because I'm just trying to do good so that other people experience him,
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Do you feel, I know this might be like a little bit of a complicated question. It just depends, but do you feel like God speaks to you during your time of worship, or do you get spoken to in a different way?
Yeah, I think so. Like,
because I think that's really dope. Playing an instrument to God and having just
those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was a lot more emotional when I was younger. This doesn't really happen anymore, but like sometimes I would be playing on stage and I would have to like hold back tears because I'd feel so like such an overwhelming presence, or the lyrics would just be speaking to me exactly what I need to hear, which sounds weird because I'll play the songs 1,000 times and then in that moment it'll be like, wow.
Right.
Or sometimes it's just the energy in the room. I'll get so locked in on playing and then I'll look up and I'll see like a sea of people with their hands raised and I'm like, wow, just the fact that I can contribute to this in any way is like beautiful to me. It's like, wow, like this is why I'm alive. Sometimes it's like feels like doing things like this is like why I am so happy that I'm like alive, and it's such a gift that I get to play on stage. Like, wow, that's just incredible.
It's so interesting, bro. Like I've had so many thoughts about this. And I think a big question of humanity in general is what is my purpose?
Yeah.
You know, everybody's asking like, why am I born? And
Yeah.
especially people that really haven't found the path of God, you know,
Yeah.
they don't know Jesus quite yet. I think that's a big question for a lot of people. Even people that do know Jesus, they're still finding their purpose. But when you have those kind of moments where you're doing something that feels so natural, and then you look out and you're like, wow, like I'm so fulfilled right now. Like,
Yeah.
this is my purpose. This is my why. How do you decipher like how do you make that decision? How do you make that jump really?
Right.
You know, like how do we translate that into being something that is tangible?
Yeah,
You know?
no, I can see what you're saying. I think it's a little more complicated because even when I did feel that when I was younger, I'd be playing, I'd be like, wow, this is my purpose. This is why I'm alive. It's not that I was wrong, because I wasn't, but I feel like I was putting myself in a box at the same time, because yes, that is a purpose. That is one of the reasons, you know. But that's not it, you know. I also do this and I do that, you know. And so I think it's good to not like have these moments that fill you with euphoria and happiness and be like, oh, this is my purpose, you know. It's like life is a lot more than whatever that moment is. Life is, even though playing on stage is like my favorite thing, that's not what my whole life is, you know. Even though sometimes I'd be down for it to be all of it. But yeah, I think it's just finding things that just like fill you with like joy, that are also like, because like watching YouTube fills me with joy, but that isn't really contributing to anybody, you know. So it's just like finding things that fill you with joy that also bless others. I think it's just that's what it is finding things that bless you and bless others at the same time. It's like, yes, some things are work, but it doesn't, I mean, it sounds corny, but like, you know, if you love what you do, you're not really working, you know. And so I think it's like finding things like that that just makes you happy and makes you feel like full, but then they also bless others, you know. It's like my 9 to 5, it's cool, but it's not like, let's go, I get to go to work, you know. And so I think a lot of it is just finding things that do like make you excited to go, even if in the moment, like when you're going to do it, you're a lot not excited. Like, look at how you feel during and after, because a lot of the times I'll go do something and in the moment I'm like, oh, I'm tired, I don't feel like doing this, you know. And then in the moment I'll be like, oh, I'm having fun, and then afterwards I'll be like, I'm full, like that was fun, you know. And so I think
I definitely know what you mean.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times like we're just tired or a little, I mean, sometimes I feel like just a little bit lazy and I just want to rot in my bed. But then when I get out of my bed and do something, I'm like, oh, that was fun, I'm glad I did it. More often than not, when I do something, I feel good. Like I feel happy like 90% of the time.
A lot of the times our flesh are like the ones trying to stop our spirit from getting filled up.
No, wow, that's good.
That's really like what it is. Like our flesh is like, don't go out, don't communicate, don't go to community. You know, when you do those things, your spirit gets so filled up. You're like, dang, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah. For me, a lot of it is like I almost have a fear of being drained of energy, right? And so when I think about doing things, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be tired after, and I'm going to be like, maybe tired, even worse, tired during it. And then I'll be there, but I won't really be there because I'll be like, I want to go home, I'm tired, right? And so sometimes I'll avoid doing things just because I'm afraid that I'll be drained. But then it's like, at that point, if I let that like take over, like I just won't do anything ever, you know? So you gotta, like, the whole point of you having energy is to use it. Right, so I think sometimes I can get in my head and be like, no, it's mine. I want to just be at home and do my thing, you know? But it's like, that's not really, I think, the best way for me to live, you know?
I wonder where that thought comes from. Like, is it just a bad habit? Because I feel like that's a very human thing to feel.
Yeah. I think we just don't want to be depleted of our resources, and one of those resources is our time and energy, you know. Because it does suck, like, to be out on a day and you'll be so busy and then you'll be so exhausted and you're halfway through the day. Like, that is not a great feeling. No. But then even with that, it's like sometimes halfway like energy, like I feel like it just comes and goes. Like how tired I am is such a like a on and off wishy-washy things. Like even last night I was up a little bit late with just hanging out with my friends, and it was like getting a little bit late and I was like, oh, I'm tired, like I need to go home. And then 2 hours later I was had all the energy in the world and I was hanging out again. Like, it's just like, it's just all over the place with me. I don't know.
I definitely feel that, bro. Even though like I'm an introvert myself, my wife has dragged me to a lot of places and made me more of an extrovert than ever. So like sometimes I'll be the person where I'm like, I actually like want to talk to people right now. Like, I feel like closed in. I want to like see people. Even like at work, dude, like I'll feel too like trapped. It's almost like a trapped feeling if I stay home. Like I really don't like my job too much. Yeah. The drive is like an hour away, but like I want to see people, you know?
Oh,
like,
wow. Okay.
I want to go talk to people. I want to see some faces, you know? I just feel too to myself. I just feel like community is big.
Yeah, you know? It is. And it's like a two-way blessing. It's like you get blessed because you get to see those people, and then those people are blessed because they get to hang out with you. You know?
Of course,
it's like
I'm a blessing, bro.
Oh, of course.
Of course they want me around.
Why do you think I'm here?
On me and Lex's last episode, we were talking about being addicted to productivity.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Right. That's right. Like literally when she told me that, because she's the one who came up with this. And when she told me that, I was like, addicted to productivity. Like I've never even heard those words together.
Yeah.
You know? And we really like hit the topic of just the culture of what we live in. Like we are made to like, or we're taught, you know, we're shown to just keep going, never stop. What's the next thing? Come on. And I feel like it just creates an atmosphere of never being happy.
Definitely.
You're never going to like be fulfilled, really. You're never going to have those moments that we're talking about, you know, like you're fulfilling others. You're fulfilled in doing the work that you're doing for others. If you're always focused on like what's next, you can never enjoy the moment.
You gotta enjoy the moment. Yeah, you gotta rest. You gotta learn. Resting is a skill. You gotta exercise it. You know, some people it comes naturally. Some people it's too much. Like some people are like they rest too much. But I think resting, like a lot of people just get locked into like the work, like you were saying, the productivity, and it's like God resting isn't a option. It's a commandment, and it's for us. It's like good for us. It's like you can come back stronger later, you know?
That's so good, bro. Yeah. Like what, in the same way we have to work out, in the same way we have to go to work, in the same way we have to clean the house, you know, obviously basic duties, that's a work too. You know, you have to learn how to do that. You have to work that out in order to do that in the same way with rest. But for you, what does rest look like?
I kind of like what we were saying earlier. Like I'm more extroverted, but I do like being like alone a lot of times. And so for me, what it looks like is going home, cleaning my room, because if I don't make a time to clean it, it'll just slowly decay. And then I won't be able to rest if my room isn't clean. I'll be like, this needs to happen, right?
Messy room, messy head, bro.
Exactly.
I get you.
So for me, it's cleaning my room, watching Netflix in my bed for like a little bit, and then hopping on bass or piano or guitar and just playing a song that I want to play. Because I feel like a lot of times as a musician, you play songs that you need to play to learn for a set. But the rest comes for me when I just have a song stuck in my head. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna learn this on piano. And like I'm a competitive guy, so I think a lot of times I'm like, no, we need to grind out like this song. We need to learn it, right? But rest comes when there's a song where there's no pressure to learn it. It's just like I want to learn it. And I've been learning guitar recently because I play keys and I play bass on stage a lot, but I'm not honestly good enough at guitar to play on stage. And it's good because then I could just kind of play what I want. And so that's where rest looks like for me.
You haven't revealed that one yet.
No, that hasn't hit a Sunday yet. Maybe one day, maybe in a little bit. But
I'll be waiting, bro. I'll be watching.
It's got some work to do, but we'll see. But it's good that I'm not good enough at it to play on a Sunday yet, because I don't want to. Like I want that one to be an instrument where I just play when I want to play it, you know, and just like learn songs that just like let me relax, you know. And so that's what rest looks like for me, just playing.
Yeah, I would agree, bro. I think it's a big question. Like what should rest look like for a lot of people, especially like what we're talking about. A lot of people don't even know that we should rest. Because it is definitely a commitment. We need it. I mean, any machine that doesn't have a break in general is gonna,
it's not gonna work.
It's gonna wear down fast. So we definitely need breaks, but I think rest is just that for me. I like to do artistic stuff. I like even like editing the podcast on like my Sabbath day or break day.
It's relaxing, right?
It's relaxing. It's fulfilling, bro. I really enjoy it. Or doing art, you know. We talked about earlier how you kind of felt like you were boxing yourself in with when you were like, oh, this is my purpose, playing bass on the stage and stuff like that. And I'm the same way. Like I love to do so many different things.
Yeah.
Like I love to do this. This is like a passion of mine. I absolutely love to do this. I don't feel like I'm working. Like we're just chilling.
It's
and
fun.
hanging out.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's dope. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. But at the same time, I love editing. I love taking pictures. I love video. I love making clothes, anything artistic. I absolutely love it. You know, anything in that field. So I think it's good to have that kind of mindset as well. Like you don't want to like have that one good feeling like we are talking about, like euphoria, like, oh my God, like this feels amazing. This is what I'm made for, you know, and then stick with that. I feel like we're made so unique with so many different attributes.
For sure. Yeah.
That we have so much to explore about ourselves, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying about, music, it's your hobby. Do you want to do it full time? It's like, I'm not opposed to doing it full time, but at the same time, if it's my job, it's not necessarily my rest, you know? And so when it's a passion and just a hobby, and I could just hop on keys in my room alone and just play for fun, it's like a blessing. It's like, then it's rest, you know? But if I'm practicing for something and I'm a little bit stressed out about what I'm practicing for, because I have to play a set on stage, honestly, I still have fun doing it, but it's less relaxing, you know? It feels a little bit more like work, even though it's work that I want to do and I like doing. It's still work, you know? There's talking about addiction to productivity makes me, do you listen to Coin? It's a band, but they have this song called Cemetery, and I always think of it. As soon as you said addicted to productivity, it made me think of the song, because the chorus goes, it's talking about like a guy, like an old guy, and who like recently passed, and the chorus goes, never made time for the friends and family, but he's the richest man in the cemetery. Wow. Like, wow, he worked so hard for all this wealth, but he's not alive anymore, you know, and he never made time for, it's like, wow, I love that song.
That hits, bro.
Yeah.
So you grew up as a Christian musician.
Yeah.
So did you grow up hearing like, or like what kind of music did you grow up
on? I mean, definitely a lot of worship music, specifically that my old church made, because they would make a lot of their own music. Yeah. And so it's funny, whenever I started going to other churches, I was like, I didn't know any of the songs that everybody else knew, because my church did a lot of their originals, which I was fine with. I liked their songs. Yeah. But a lot of worship music, I kind of always listened to a little bit of everything at some point. Growing up, I listened to, I don't know, just like whatever 13-year-olds listened to in 2013. But as I got older, I listened to a little bit of, like I said, like a little bit of everything, a little bit of pop, R&B, hip hop, and then obviously worship music. And then as a worship musician, as I got more into it, it's hard sometimes, admittedly, for me to listen to a lot of worship music, because I listen to a lot of worship music as a job, where it's like, oh, I have to listen to this song 3 times today because I'm playing it tonight, you know? And so sometimes it's a little like unmotivating to listen to it in my free time. But I think it's okay. Like, to a degree, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, listening to secular songs that are like fun and just turn your brain off and listen to it. You know, it's like, you know, obviously there's a line, but for the most part,
that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah. I only ask because like I grew up obviously as Christian too. Yeah. And I grew up on nothing but worship music. So
really?
When my friends that I'm around, they play music in their car, they're like, what song is this? I'm like, I don't know. Like I've never heard it before. Like, how do you not know this song? You know? I didn't grow up around like rock or anything. Like I really got into secular music, you know, during my crazy moments in high school. Right. But yeah, I don't know any songs like that. So. Yeah,
I don't know. I still listen to, I would say mostly secular music, but I don't think that's like, I think it's just as much about the content as it is like what the content does to your brain. Like, is it something that makes you think bad thoughts that you shouldn't be thinking about, you know? Or, you know, because we all watch, I think there's a little bit of hypocrisy among people where they'll be like, oh, don't listen to this type of music, but then they'll go watch Deadpool or something, where it's like, okay, that has just as much like inappropriate content as a hip-hop song was. So so I don't know. I think I can't remember the exact scripture, but the Bible does talk about how you're going to have personal convictions of the heart. And yes, there's absolute truth. And yes, there are things that this is wrong without a doubt. But there's also certain things that you're going to feel personally convicted, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. And I don't think it's necessarily good to be like, oh, you shouldn't do that either because I feel personally convicted. No, like let people like live and let live kind of. Obviously, I'm not saying to never call out people's like bad habits or bad
Sure.
behavior, but there are certain things where you're going to be like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's like bad and nobody should be doing it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's really, that's why we say like Christianity is like a relationship. It's like, what is God saying to you? You know, don't worry about what God's saying to other people, you know, worry about like what is, what's hurting you and what's bad for you.
That's
you
a
know?
really good point, bro.
Yeah.
I think that it is very true. Like there is a lot of hypocrisy in situations like that. Like, don't listen to this, but I'll go watch that.
Yeah,
you know, whatever.
It's like
we're crossing lines, but we're not. Like, what are you talking about, bro?
Yeah.
And everybody does have their own convictions. I totally agree with that. I think as an artist, you listening to music that is more on the secular side, you grew up in such a way where your foundation is set.
Yeah.
You know, you're not a sponge looking for inspiration.
Right.
You're already
there.
filled. You know?
Yeah. And with that, like, it's just about discernment of what I should be listening to and what I shouldn't. Because the reality is listening to secular music makes me a better musician because worship music is one genre. It's, they call it Christian contemporary, right? It's like what you normally hear when you listen to worship music. And I want to be a better musician. I want to learn, you know? And so
For sure.
there are certain artists like that are secular. Like, for example, like do you listen to Bon Iver at all? Do you listen to any artists outside of worship?
Honestly,
is there any that come
I really
to mind?
don't. Like, I'll listen to like Christian rap.
Okay.
But like, there's just not like any artist or bands. It's open, bro.
Yeah,
Like, I'll
it's
listen
open.
to
Okay.
anything.
Okay. Yeah, like there's just artists that they don't make explicit like horrible like content. But you listen to them and they're just telling you their lyrics are just about like what they want to talk about and their experiences, and their production is just like incredible, and it makes me think of all these ideas where it's like, oh, like I can incorporate that on keys or on piano, like I could do something like that, you know? And I think a lot of me listening to music is, yes, it's fun, but also when I listen to a song that I really like, I'm like, I can incorporate that into how I play, you know? I'll hear a bass line and I'm like, I'm gonna use that on, I've heard a song, I'll hear a bass line that's cool, and I'll be like, I'm gonna use that on Sunday. I'm gonna use that as a fill somewhere on Sunday, you know. And it's like so fun to do that, you know.
Dude, that's very. It's. I would say it's along the same lines as reading the Bible and reading other books.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I,
like,
think people blow it out of proportion with music. It's like just listen to what you like, and if your heart is saying, "Oh, like this is bad for me," then no. And other than that, I think for the most part, it's all good. You know?
Yeah, it is definitely what you said. Like it's whatever convictions you have. You know, everybody's in different positions, bro. Like you can't say like to this person, don't listen to this, and to another person that's spiritually strong, don't listen to this.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
It's a different playing fields.
Yeah.
You know?
And certain people have different weaknesses. Like certain people fall into poor thought patterns from one topic to another, you know? And so it's really just about knowing you and what God is telling you, you know? And I think we're just a little bit too quick sometimes to point fingers like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. It's like, well, like let God handle that. And again, I'm not saying to never call out bad behavior, but I think just like ease up on it at times, you know?
That's fair. Yeah. I like that. There is a part of humanity where it's like, I don't know. I don't want to sound harsh, but even like as a Christian and being a human as Christian, you know, we have a want to like fix things. We have a want to correct. We have a want to point things out. But there is balance, just like we talked about, balance with everything. There is balance where you just have to let God handle some stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
You're not going to change nobody's mind. You know, if somebody's stuck in their own way, like there's no need to, you know, be that person. Don't be that guy. You know?
Live and let live, man.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Talking about just music, you know, we had a lot of topics about music and, you know, how you grew up with music, what music is to you, how you express in music, how God expresses to you in music. For anybody that's listening that has a desire for music, or maybe let's say this, what would you tell yourself that has a burning desire for music now, like growing up? What advice would you give them as a growing musician?
Okay, yeah. I think a lot of people put too much pressure on practicing for long periods of time. I think the best way to get good at an instrument is to pick it up and have an intentional 10 minutes where you're just like, brain, feelings off. This is what is going to get me good, whether it's because scales are boring, but scales are good, you know? And so some things are going to be kind of boring when you play, but they're going to get you good. Have 10 minutes every day where you just go and get in the lab and grind it. And then have another 10 minutes where you have to find a song that you like, find a song that you just want to play and kind of want to learn. That's around your skill level, you know? And spend a short amount of time every day doing something that maybe you want to do, maybe you don't. It's just going to help you get better at the instrument. And then do another, 10, 15 minutes of learning a song that you want to learn. And that's I think people put too much of an emphasis on practice. Don't practice, play because you're going to want to play. You don't want to practice all the time, And so I think just finding the balance of that is like the most important thing, and just taking it a little at a time. Like don't compare, because no matter how good you get at guitar, you can find somebody better with their feet on Instagram. They'll just be going crazy. Like they're like with one hand. Like, it's like
comparison's a thief.
It is, man. So just like go at your own level, find stuff you like, and then find the balance between practice and play. Take it. Don't practice 2 hours a day if that's going to be overwhelming to you. You're going to see infinitely more results from practicing for 20 minutes a day than 2 hours once or twice a week, So I think that's the best way to grow as a musician.
It's good advice.
Yeah, no, for sure.
What's the biggest crowd you've ever played in front of?
Probably at my home church, growing up, for like an Easter Sunday where it was just packed out. Because that was a big auditorium, and honestly, I was over my head. I'm really thankful for that opportunity, because the rest of the band were these like just absolute beasts on their instrument, and I was like, all right, I was still learning how to bass. Like I was good, but like even now, how good I am now compared to the 21-year-old version of me, I was like, dang, they were letting me play that. That's crazy. But and then I would say for outside of church, I opened for. Have you heard of the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus? I hadn't either, but they got a big Spotify following. And I opened for them with one of my bands recently. So that was probably the biggest credit I played for outside of church. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I know you talked about earlier before we hopped on that you're starting a band.
Yeah.
So you want to shout them out? What is the name?
I don't want to say it until we lock it down on Spotify. We're really early. But as we start releasing music, I'm going to be making TikTok content and Instagram content that I've been working on. It's just me playing songs on different instruments, because I play a few different instruments. So I'll set it up where in one camera I'm playing bass, and then the other camera I'm playing piano, and the next camera I'm playing guitar, and I'll mash it all together. So cool, watch out for the content. It's coming.
Yeah, but I'll tag your Instagram at the bottom of the description.
Okay.
If you guys want to follow his story, follow his journey, if you guys are into music and just learning about how God and worship tie together with that, and just music in general, check out this guy. He has Instagram. Do you have Twitter or anything else?
Just Instagram, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check him out on Instagram.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to reach out. Come talk to me. We can talk about music.
For sure. This dude is one of the most approachable people I've met. So if this episode did inspire any question about music, definitely reach out to this guy.
Yeah, hit me up.
Has a lot of knowledge
DMs
about it.
are open.
Very good, cool guy. But bro, thank you so much for coming out here, bro. This is a blast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a good time. First time on a podcast. It's been real.
Bro. Maybe we'll have you back. Maybe we'll have another musicians episode. We'll have some of your friends on here or something.
Let's get some people from the house. Let's get the whole band.
Let's do it, bro.
Something. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Well, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge, all your wisdom. Thank you, bro.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we'll wrap this episode up, guys. Until then, see things from a higher view, and we'll see you next week. Peace out.